When you think of the world's most valuable companies, a familiar list of names likely comes to mind. Apple, with its ecosystem of iconic devices. Microsoft, the backbone of enterprise software. Google, the undisputed king of search and digital advertising. These are titans of industry, their brands and leaders woven into the fabric of our global culture. But there's another giant, one that consistently ranks among them in market capitalization, often exceeding $500 billion. A company whose influence is so profound, it shapes the daily reality of over 1 billion people. Yet outside of Asia, it remains a ghost in the machine, a name that rarely gets talked about with the same clarity or recognition: Tencent. This obscurity isn't because it's small, it's not because it's new. The company was founded back in 1998, the same year as Google. The reason for this paradox is far more interesting. It's because most people outside of its core market simply cannot explain what Tencent actually does. Is it a social media company? Yes, it runs the largest social network in China. Is it a gaming powerhouse? Absolutely, it's the biggest video game publisher in the world, with stakes in studios that create blockbuster titles you've almost certainly played. Is it a fintech innovator? It processes billions of transactions a day. A venture capital firm? Its investment portfolio is vast and global. Tencent is all of these things, and that's the point. Its true nature is hidden in plain sight, masked by a complexity that defies simple categorization. Unlike its Western counterparts, Tencent isn't built like a typical consumer tech brand. It doesn't rely on global celebrity CEOs or flashy, globally televised product launches to define its identity. Its strategy has been quieter, more deliberate, and arguably more insidious. It made one foundational decision that quietly turned it into something far more powerful than just a social media or gaming company. Early on, Tencent decided that its flagship product, WeChat, would not compete as just another app on your phone. It wouldn't be a simple messaging service or a social feed vying for your attention against a dozen other icons. Instead, it would become the platform that daily life itself runs on. An operating system for society. From paying your rent and booking a doctor's appointment to ordering food and accessing public services, the goal was to create a single, indispensable portal. A closed ecosystem so complete that leaving it would mean disconnecting from modern life. This is the story of how that vision was built and what it means when one company holds the keys to everything. In the hyper-competitive world of technology, most companies are locked in a seemingly endless war. A war fought not with armies, but with code. This is the feature battle. It's a relentless cycle of one-upmanship, where victory is measured in incremental gains. A slicker interface, a faster algorithm, a slightly more engaging notification. Most tech companies fight for your attention within this paradigm. They build better features, better messaging, better feeds, better algorithms. They compete app versus app, each vying to be the best at one specific thing. It's a brutal, expensive, and ultimately fragile way to build a business. Because as soon as a competitor launches a compelling new feature, the arms race begins all over again. Loyalty is fleeting when the next best thing is just a download away. But one company made a decision to stop playing this game entirely. That decision changed everything. Tencent took a different route. Instead of trying to win a single category, they chose to build a world. They stopped asking, how can we make the best messaging app? And started asking a much more profound question. How many parts of your day can exist inside one ecosystem? This is the platform strategy. It's not about being the best at one thing. It's about being the only thing you need for everything. They started with the 4 foundational pillars of modern life. First, messaging, because communication is the bedrock of every human relationship, personal and professional. Second, social feeds, because where attention flows, influence and culture follow. Third, payments, because money is the universal language of transaction, and controlling the flow of value creates unbreakable habits. And finally, services, because daily life is a loop of repetitive, predictable needs, from ordering food to paying utility bills. Each layer on its own is a massive business. But the real genius wasn't in building them, it was in connecting them. The moment those layers connect inside one seamless interface, a fundamental transformation occurs. The user experience becomes frictionless. The ecosystem becomes self-reinforcing. The app stops being an optional tool you choose to use. It becomes essential. It becomes infrastructure. It's the digital equivalent of the power grid, the water mains, the highway system. You don't think about it. You just depend on it. And infrastructure is where the real power lives. The turning point wasn't just messaging, it was payments. People underestimate how powerful payments are in a digital ecosystem. Messaging creates engagement. Payments create dependency. You might choose not to scroll social media, but you can't choose not to pay bills. You can't choose not to send money. You can't choose not to complete transactions. The moment payments live inside your communication platform, behavior compresses into a loop. Message, plan, purchase, confirm, share. That loop builds habit. Habit builds lock-in. Lock-in builds dominance. WeChat Pay transformed WeChat from a social platform into a financial layer. And once money flows through a platform, monetization doesn't need to rely purely on advertising. In many Western tech platforms, attention is monetized. In Tencent's ecosystem, activity is monetized, and activity is more durable than attention. But payments were only the first layer. The real masterstroke was mini-programs. Mini-programs are deceptively simple. Instead of downloading separate apps for every service, businesses can build lightweight applications inside WeChat itself. Food delivery, ride-hailing, shopping, appointments, customer support, subscriptions, news, entertainment. Rather than competing for space on your phone's home screen, companies compete for visibility inside WeChat. And this is where Tencent's decision becomes strategic genius. When you control distribution, you control outcomes. You influence discovery. You influence growth. You influence traffic. You influence revenue. WeChat stopped being just a product. It became a marketplace for products. And marketplaces scale differently than products. When you build a product, you scale your own value. When you build a platform, you scale other people's value and take a percentage. That's why the most valuable companies in the world often control platforms rather than individual products. Apple takes a percentage through the App Store. Amazon takes a percentage through its marketplace. Visa and MasterCard take a percentage through payment rails. Tencent's one decision positioned WeChat as a hybrid of all three. A communication layer, a payment rail, a service marketplace. When billions of interactions flow through your infrastructure every day, you don't need to aggressively monetize attention. You simply collect transaction value. That's what makes the model powerful. But the same decision that creates dominance also creates concentration. When one platform becomes essential to daily life, it accumulates influence. It accumulates data. It accumulates leverage. And when leverage accumulates, oversight eventually follows. This is not unique to one country or one system. Any company that becomes infrastructure attracts scrutiny, because infrastructure affects security, competition, privacy, policy, national interests. Observers and regulatory bodies across different regions have raised concerns about how large platforms operate when they sit at the center of communication and commerce. From a business standpoint, the lesson is simple. The more essential you become, the more you become part of a broader system. And systems don't tolerate unchecked power indefinitely. Tencent's strategy created extraordinary defensibility, but it also created structural exposure. Because when your dominance is deeply tied to one primary environment, policy risk becomes real. Yet Tencent didn't stop at domestic scale. Instead of trying to export WeChat as the global super app, Tencent expanded influence differently through capital allocation. They invested in companies across gaming, entertainment, and technology. Rather than needing global consumer dominance under one brand, they positioned themselves as stakeholders in growth wherever it emerged. This is a quieter form of expansion. You don't need global fame if you have global exposure. Investment strategy allowed Tencent to diversify revenue streams, extend influence, and reduce reliance on any single product category. At the same time, their domestic ecosystem continued compounding. The strength of a platform model is that it compounds internally. More services attract more users. More users attract more businesses. More businesses increase utility. Increased utility strengthens habit. Habit reinforces dominance. This feedback loop is extremely difficult to disrupt once established, but it always carries a tension. Infrastructure creates leverage. Leverage creates influence. Influence creates scrutiny. And scrutiny can alter the environment that allowed the platform to flourish in the first place. So what can founders and leaders learn from this? The surface lesson is obvious. Build ecosystems, not isolated features. But the deeper lesson is about position in the value chain. If you want durability, don't just build a product people enjoy. Build something people rely on. Distribution layers, payment rails, marketplaces, identity systems, infrastructure nodes. When you become the layer others depend on, competition shifts. You're no longer fighting for preference. You're operating from necessity. But this strategic necessity, the drive to become indispensable, is a double-edged sword. It also dramatically raises the stakes. The very act of embedding your platform into the core infrastructure of society means you are no longer just a company. You are a utility, a marketplace, and a public square all at once. This transition from a peripheral service to a central pillar of the digital economy is where the game fundamentally changes. Because the higher you sit in the value chain, the more visible you become. Suddenly, you're on the radar of regulators concerned with antitrust and market fairness, competitors who now see you as an existential threat, and policymakers who scrutinize your influence on everything from data privacy to national security. Every move is analyzed, every decision debated. This isn't just about market share, it's about societal impact, and that invites a level of oversight few businesses are prepared for. Consider Tencent's one pivotal decision: to turn WeChat from a simple messaging app into a comprehensive operating system for daily life. This masterstroke created one of the most powerful and integrated business ecosystems in the modern tech era. It wasn't just about adding features, it was about weaving the fabric of daily existence into their platform. From paying utility bills and ordering food to accessing municipal services and managing investments, WeChat became the default interface for navigating the real world. The result? It built a formidable money machine that doesn't depend purely on volatile advertising cycles, instead generating revenue from billions of microtransactions. More importantly, it built a level of defensibility that makes simple feature competition almost irrelevant. When your users' entire digital lives, their social connections, financial history, and daily routines are locked into your ecosystem, the cost of switching becomes astronomically high. This is the ultimate competitive moat. And in doing so, it also built a risk profile that most companies will never face. Becoming this essential means you are subject to geopolitical pressures, intense antitrust scrutiny, and the constant threat of regulatory intervention that could dismantle the very ecosystem you've built. The reward for becoming everything to everyone is that you also become a single point of failure and a primary target for oversight. This is the profound paradox of platform dominance. One decision, total dominance, and the kind of strategic trade-off that defines empires. Thanks for watching. If this helped, subscribe for more thoughtful tech deep dives. Hit the bell, like the video, and share it with a friend. See you in the next one.